Alright guys, and welcome to this live stream. And today basically I will take up presentation first, and after I will answer some of the questions that I've been getting on the YouTube channel, on the videos, and afterwards I will check out the chat and see what you have been asking me there. Alright, so basically I will just crack right into the presentation. And also for you guys who do attend live stream live until the end, I am going to give away 3 bonuses today so that you can implement in your hair regrow strategy as well. So, and those bonuses are from Rapid Regrow program. All right, so basically I want to start with a simple question, is how to know if your hairline is receding, right? This is a question everyone, also all of us want to kind of know, because if we can catch hair loss early, it is much easier to solve it than waiting for too long and addressing it when it gets too late, basically. And this is basically my situation when I started to do something about, or seriously started to do something about my hair loss, right? And you don't need to wait until this kind of situation, right? You basically need to take action much sooner, because remember that there is always a possibility that one can't grow it back again, right? It can become, it gets too advanced and it becomes much harder. One needs to use more invasive methods to actually achieve it, right? So basically, if you start to see first signs of receding hairline or crown thinning, take action, right? Do something about it. And this is basically the best way to catch it early and start with the treatment as soon as possible, right? Because if you know that, let's say, if you have some genetic hair loss in your family history, you know that it will kind of kick in at some point for you as well, right? And if you kind of wait for too long, it will be much more depressing for your mind, and it will be also much harder to solve it. And also remember that there is a point of no return as well, right? Because hair loss can just become too advanced and it will become almost impossible to solve it by this treatment. All right, so this is my situation back in 2008, October 2008. And you can see basically that I had a serious thinning in my temples, hairline, and of course crown, like diffuse thinning all over my scalp. And basically the things to look for, like I have kind of thinking back over what actually did happen over the years when I first spotted that problem, right? And things to look for is basically if you notice that your hair doesn't look as good in the pictures anymore, that's a kind of sign that there is something wrong with your hair, right? If you take pictures and you start to see that your appearance, your facial appearance doesn't look as good as it did before, then in most cases it's basically because of the hair are starting to thin out, right? And I will show some of my pictures so you can kind of see what actually did happen, right? Because when you have a perfect hair, right, then also the pictures will be perfect when you take them, right? Even if you have messy hair or just kind of wake up without brushing them, but if you have full silk hair, then they will look good in any case, in any situation, and it won't matter what kind of styling you have with the hair or what kind of situation you are in, right? They will look good in the pictures. Another thing is that I remember is basically I was getting comments, a lot of them. Have you had a haircut? Right? When I was losing my hair, I was always getting those comments. Like co-workers would say, ask me them, the fellow students in university would ask them. I was always getting those comments, like, have you had a haircut today or lately? Right? And basically, it kind of is a warning sign that there is something wrong with the hair, because nowadays I don't get that kind of comment at all. Right? I don't know, no one asking me about have I had a haircut lately or something like this, because basically when the hair looks good, there is there's kind of no reason to ask that kind of comment, right? And this is kind of a nice way to ask or say that you are having hair loss trouble, right? Hair loss problem. And other things to look for is basically that it is getting harder and harder to manage or to style the hair, right? And I kind of show some pictures of me when I was styling my hair and I was balding. But basically, what happens is that hair become less and they become kind of diffused and they are kind of all over the place, right? So it becomes much harder to style them. When you style them, you also are going to use a lot more time to do it, right? Because you are most likely taking one here and kind of taking the right places to kind of hide things away, hide away thinning, right? At least it was for me, right? And I remember the worst time back in October 2008 when basically like I started with finasteride. What happened is that I was using almost 1 hour daily to style my hair in the morning, right? This was how bad my situation was. And basically what happened is that I need to wake up earlier, 1 hour earlier. I often got late to university classes because I was uneven to the job because I was too busy to style my hair in the morning. Like 1 hour every morning I was using to style my hair. And this is basically something like, it's a warning sign, right? You should not be using this much time. And nowadays, when I style my hair, I usually spend like 5 minutes, right? Like maximum, I would say, like let's say if I go on evening outside, I would spend like 10 minutes to style my hair. Like it's like put just gel, comb them the right way, right direction, and that's all, right? And if there is some issues, that basically means that or you're using longer time than 5 to 10 minutes, that means that there is something wrong, right? So you need to address and check it out as soon as possible. Other thing is also you need to look for is basically if you notice that let's say if your overall hair is good, right, but you start to notice that there is a lot of smaller hairs in temples or temple area. It's a typical sign to look for. Those hair doesn't grow as long as other hairs, and they are maybe lighter in color. That's basically a usual sign of mineralization of the hair, right? And it's very easy to see them in the temples. So if you do see the lighter hairs in the temples, on the shorter ones, that basically means there is something going on your scalp that needs to be addressed. And most likely you have early stages of metabolic baldness or scalp inflammation, because scalp inflammation also can cause mineralization as well, like scalp inflammation, dermatitis, and so on. All right. Again, yeah, shorter hair, basically the hairs that are growing out, they are shorter and they never become long. Like they kind of grow out a little bit and then they kind of fall out. Right? They never become a long hair like it usually should be. So, and basically, again, it means that there is something wrong and you need to take action and do something about it. And when the hair loss becomes more advanced, those peaks basically become larger, right? So basically, if you have a perfect hairline now and suddenly you start to see the hair kind of receding backwards, that's again is a warning sign and means that there is something going on. And basically, progression again, it can go slowly, but it won't stop, right? It will continue for some very fast if there is some other problems, and for some a bit slower if there is just a, for example, DHT issues of this causing. Once again, I have some water. All right, so I want to basically show my situation when I was 15, right? And possibly you have seen this picture before, but this was how my hair was when I was in my younger years. You can see that basically I had a full set of hair, and I was around 15 at that time. And then when I was around 17-ish, what happened is that I started to thinning out, right? And there were several reasons for it. First of all, I was not having a healthy nutrition diet, not healthy lifestyle. I was not sleeping enough. I was having quite a lot of stress. I had some deficiencies, like vitamin D deficiency, that caused issues. And also, I was not taking care of my scalp environment. My scalp was always very oily. I didn't wash it often enough. Like nowadays, I wash my scalp every day. At that time, I would wash my scalp like once a week or something. Right? And all those things kind of made my hair start to thin out. And I remember at that time, I also was taking a lot of gym supplements, creatine, protein powders. Right? Those things, again, are not optimal for the hair if there is a tendency of getting DHT, right, or other issues. This is basically when I was around 17. This is around 17 and a half, 18, right? You can see clearly that things are not going well, right? For example, in those areas here. Let's see, I just want to show you guys. Like you can see is crown thinning, right? Obvious signs that there is something going on. And also on the sides, because at that time I was developing a nutrition D deficiency, right? And when there is nutrition D deficiency or any kind of deficiency, the hair will fall out easier, right? And this was around that time I had that problem, and you can see that I had kind of rare or strange pattern of the hair loss at that point, and I was just around 18. So. And here again, you can see that how my hairline started to kind of look weaker and not the same as it should be, right? Not the same as when I was 15, right? You can see that there is something wrong, right? In both pictures. The hair are, like again, it's the same. You can see the same pattern also in this picture here, right? Something wrong with the hairline, easy to spot, right? As long as you know what to look for, it is easy to see that there is something wrong that's going on. So. All right, and here again, this is around the same time, 18 and a half possibly, right? Again, sides getting worse. So make sure that you don't have any deficiencies, right? Because remember that when you take finasteride, it doesn't address any deficiencies. It just addresses hormones. It just addresses DHT, right? Or other kind of the DHT blockers. So again, you can see that basically things were not going well, right? And at that time, I didn't even know that I was having hair loss. right? And if I did know, let's say if someone said that, some family member said that my hair looked a bit thinner, I would just say, yeah, it's maturing hairline, right? I would assume this is not any problem at all, right? And like again, this is around 18, 19, around that area, right? You can see that basically my hair was not looking good. So on here again, right? Hairline, right? I remember at that time I was actually not aware of how bad it was, right? And this is basically like when I was having most of my vitamin D deficiencies, around 19, I would say. And this is 1 year later when I had solved them, or like less than 1 year later actually. Like this is winter time, around December, and this was the summertime in June. It was seven months later. But you can see that basically I still was able to recover in 7 months my sides and some of my crown, right? And if you have seen my other videos, I did talk and show more pictures regarding my doctor situation, and it was actually worse in that, like later that year compared to this one here regarding the sides. I was able to recover them, and you can also see that it was not that bad. Like I had a temples white seed, but it got kind of thickened up a bit because I solved my deficiency in vitamin D. So. All right. And here I want to basically show how creative my hairstyling become, right? This is like, I would say like 2005, and this is later, 2006 maybe, right? Basically what happened is that I was styling my hairs forwards and hoping no one would notice that I was losing hair, right? And it did take, like I said, it did take a good 30 minutes to do this kind of hairstyle, right? And the same here as well. I was putting each hair in the right places, so they looked good, right? And it was not easy, right? So I did spend a lot of time on it. And if there was wind or rain, it would ruin my hair and ruin my day basically. Because then maybe if I had gone to university that day and that started to rain, I would most likely skip a class and go back home, right? This was how bad situation was. All right. And basically, a question I often get: what to look for regarding terms of hair regrow, right? And it kind of depends on situation, right? If you have been losing hair for a very long time and your hair loss is very advanced, basically what you are looking for is vellus hairs in different cycles, like a light vellus hair that become darker, fall out, and then become a kind of permanent hair over time, right? Because this is kind of thing to look for if your hair loss has been going on for a long time and it is advanced. But if your hair loss has just kind of happened recently, then what you need to look for is basically more thickness of the existing hair. As it becomes fuller and looks better, those are kind of signs to look for if your hair loss is just kind of in the early stages. And basically, I can kind of to say or show this, I have added some pictures. Like in my case, I can show you how vellus hair look like because my hair loss was very advanced, right? And those are basically early vellus hairs that you can see kind of whitish color that are growing out, and that's often a sign that the treatment is working, right? And so they become darker in the color, and if you keep addressing all the underlying problems and issues, they become darker, stronger, and over time they become permanent hair, right? But it's a process, it takes a long time, right? So remember that this hair loss, hair regrow treatment is not something that will happen in short time, or it can happen in short time if your hair loss is not advanced and it basically addresses it from the right angle. Let's say it's a DHT issue, and you address it from the right angles, and you can get results and see results fast. But if the hair loss has been going on for a long time and it has been advanced, like in my case, then basically what will happen is that you will see those vellus hairs that become darker and stronger over time. So, and if you don't see them, that basically means that there is something wrong, right? Because let's say you have been on the treatment for 3 months, you should start to notice that there is more and more of those here that are growing, right? And again, I often get a question about my results and did minoxidil work on all areas, right? And this is a typical, like, kind of typical question I get. Minoxidil do work in the areas you apply, right? Basically, it doesn't matter if it's a crown, hairline, temples, or mid scalp, right, or sides. It will work everywhere. I remember even in the past when I was using like a sprayer minoxidil, this spray bottle. We had in Norway that kind of brand. I think it was a Recreate that was making like Swedish brands that was making a spray. Minoxidil, but I think also Receding has it until this day as well. Basically, what you do is that you kind of spray 6 pumps in one area and then you can massage it in. And what happened is that I remember in my early stages of growing back my hair, I was using that sprayer, and I would spray like on my ears, some of it, and it would land up in strange places. And I started to get hairs on those areas, right? So hairs start to grow out. So basically, like I said, minoxidil works everywhere you apply it, right? So don't apply it in wrong places. And remember that, for example, if you want to regrow your hairline or you want to regrow your crown, it will take often more time to grow back crowns and hairline or temples, right? Because one thing is that basically crown is a bigger area, right? And for other reason, I feel that hairline temples are responding faster. But if you see results on hairline temples, then basically it's a matter of time if you also start to see results on the crown. And you can check some other my videos where I kind of break down the timeline for the crown regrow. I think I did a live stream a few months ago about it, so check it out because I have showed the pictures during different times how my crown got fuller. All right, and the other thing I want to kind of answer is rosemary oil for hair loss, and this is something that some of you guys have been asking me over time, and I just want to take up on this live stream because rosemary oil, like if I would do a natural hair regrow treatment, I would mix it together with other things, right? Not just rosemary oil, but I would add maybe a green tea. I would add other possible things like peppermint oil, and mix them all together, right? In right ratios and right proportions to make it more effective. Because I don't think rosemary oil alone is sufficient enough, right? You need to kind of do something regarding different angles of the hair loss. So you need to find the right components, mix them well together, and in that way, if you want to address this hair loss issue naturally, could be a possible solution, not just do a rosemary oil as standalone. And basically, the thing is that you don't want to end up in roller coaster, right? You want to solve this problem and know that it is solved, right? As long as you are following the right steps, you know that it is solved and it won't return, right? Like the thing was for me, for example, was that I was always afraid, like back in 2010, I was always afraid how long I would be able to keep my hair because I was always thinking that maybe one day treatment won't work anymore, right? And this is basically kind of stressful and want to know how long the happiness will last with the hair, right? So if you want to avoid those kind of things, you need to address this hair loss from all the possible angles, right? This includes inflammation on the scalp, dermatitis, allergies, hormonal balance and DHT, nutrition, stress, lifestyle, immune system, avoiding immune system triggers, right? Even sugar, right? You kind of need to break down and understand what can affect your immune system, right? And you need to find a growth stimulant. Like in my case, I use minoxidil, magnesium, and you also need to know how to actually be able to maintain this thing long term, right? So it doesn't take much time, and that you know that if you do those steps, you will be able to keep the hair as long as you follow those steps, right? So this is basically a simple breakdown of the strategy, right? So you cannot have any issues with scalp. Scalp has to be healthy, right? And you should not have any allergies because allergies, again, there is a linkage between allergies and early pattern and malpattern baldness. There are done studies that you can check out. So allergies are not good. And again, hormonal balance, not just DHT, but your overall hormones also needs to be in balance. Nutrition, right? Make sure that you don't have nutrition deficiencies like I did in my early 20s with vitamin D deficiency. Because if there is deficiencies, taking, for example, finasteride or trying to stimulate hair growth with minoxidil, it won't be effective or it won't work at all, right? Because they are not addressing that problem. So you need to be sure that you don't have any deficiencies. And again, stress, make sure that you do or can manage stress, that you are able to have right sleep patterns, that you have optimized your sleep patterns, that you know how to basically relax, right? Or not having foods or something else that can cause additional stress, right? Or affect your sleep patterns, because those things, again, they will at some point catch up and cause problems in the hair regrow treatment, right? And cause issues. So basically my point here is that if you address them, all of them, and keep addressing them, making sure that everything's optimized, then you will keep the hair, right? So this kind of things. And yeah, so basically to summarize this all up, basically you need to have a personalized plan, a strategy, and know how to keep optimizing it basically every part of the treatment to keep it effective long term and not experience hair loss again, let's say 6 months from now, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now, right? You need to know that if you're doing this thing, you get results and also are able to keep them for a long time. So, and this is me back in 2012, and this is basically me 2 years ago or something. All right, guys. And for you who want to have or looking to get hold of me to get a personalized plan regarding this regrowth thing on solving the hair loss, I have added a link. I will add it in chat section as well, so you can basically schedule calls with me. Right now, I have more spots available for from the next week because I have finally catched up my workflow. So if you want to have a strategy, and you should have a strategy, you should have an action plan how to actually address this problem, then schedule a call and let's talk and see how I can help you. All right, so I will check up now or take quickly up the questions that you guys have been asking below my YouTube videos. Afterwards, I will check the chat and share the bonus with you as well, so you can implement it in your hair strategy. All right, so first question is about hair loss and applying minoxidil in one part of the balding area, and will it affect hair in other areas? And my answer is most likely not, because minoxidil works basically where you apply it, right? So it should not affect other areas if you are having or applying just in one area. Next question is about DOPA and how did I address it? Again, you need to know what's causing this DOPA, right? In my case, it was vitamin D deficiency. When I solved vitamin D deficiency, my sides also improved, right? And I think I did make a video about it a few months ago as well. So. And the next question is about what do you mean when you say scalp inflammation? Do you mean like things like acne, seborrheic, and other things? Yes, basically everything that is wrong on the scalp that is causing problem and making scalp itchy, inflamed, red, having a tension, pain, right? Everything that is wrong on the scalp, there is most likely some issues going on. So, next one is what's the best way to know what is causing my hair loss? How did you do it? And this is something I have been speaking about in the past. And basically what I did is that I did break down my problem, right? I did find out what was wrong with my nutrition that was causing it, like spiking inflammation, what was the problem regarding why my hair are shedding rapidly out, right? Why my hair had different bulbs on the endings, why my scalp was oily all the time, right? I just break it all down, and then I kind of was looking for the patterns, right? At some point, I was even using like Excel sheet to check out what kind of things affected my inflammation, what made it worse, what made it better. Remember, guys, that this was back in 2010, right? 2011, so I was trying to do my research, right? And at that time, there was not that much information about those issues. All right. And next one is how can we determine if the hair loss is caused by DHT? And basically, it's quite simple. But if you do take a DHT blocker, it doesn't have to be finasteride, but it can be natural DHT blocker, and you see that the hair loss shedding has reduced, the best means that you are addressing on your DHT and the hair loss is caused by DHTs. Hey Alex, is it true that first results of minoxidil are seen after 4th month? Like again, it depends on how advanced and how long your hair loss has been going on, right? So basically, if your hair loss has been happening just recently, and let's say just is caused, let's say by DHT and or let's say by stress that you have solved, and then you start off by minoxidil, you can see results even faster, right? But let's say if your hair loss has been going on for like in my case, for several years, then it will take also a long time to see results. And 4 months, it is kind of time frame for the guys who have had advanced hair loss. Right? So basically, what you can look for is vellus hairs that are coming back. The hair becomes stronger, less shedding. Right? Those kind of things you can look for if your hair loss is advanced. But if your hair loss has been going on for short times, then basically you should see results much quicker. Next question is about how long did it take to see results from medication and get full hair. It did take, again, for me, it did take around 12 months to be happy with my hair. but I would say that I started to notice that things were improving in the month 9, month 8 and month 9. Question about microneedling for hair regrow and what size of needles. Basically, what I do is that I did use derma roller on daily basis to stimulate hair regrow and ultra minoxidil, and I was using 1.5 needles. Right? But basically, what happened is that I was using 1.5, but I was not rolling it. Like I was rolling for observation, right? Not for volumes. This is important to remember. Let's see, is there a few more questions? Question about do you use microneedling for better observation? Yes, for better observation of minoxidils. Next question about how many years have you been planning to use finasteride? Like again, DHT has to be addressed for me. And if I stop using finasteride, my hair will start to fall out. Like it did happen last year. I think you guys checked the last year's videos back in, I would say, August, September last year. You can see that I had some issues with thinning. And same, again, I had issues back in, I think in November last year as well, because I was not addressing DHT right way. And I did make a video about this. You can check up as well what was the cause of it. And question about, hey Alex, are you still using Revita shampoo? Yeah, yes, I use it like once or twice a month. Right? I don't use it often anymore because you don't need ketoconazole shampoo to actually sustain scalp conditions. Like ketoconazole shampoo can be useful if you have fungal issues or bacterial issues in your scalp, but when those things are sold, and you are sure that they are sold, that you don't need to have ketoconazole shampoo basically to keep addressing those problems. Question about can microneedling damage hair follicles? Yes, it can. Right? Again, you need to remember that always use a quality roller or demo stamp demo pen. Like don't use the cheap ones because they can actually do damage. And also remember that, for example, if you use demo roller, use one with needles, not the blades, because they will stick in the hair. They will cause friction in your scalp and most likely cause microinflammations there as well. Right? So if you do use microneedling before minoxidil application, make sure that you do use one that is not with blades and that has a good quality to it. All right, guys. So those are the questions that you have been asking under the videos. Now I will share the bonuses. And basically, what you can do, guys, regarding bonuses, is that you can just take them, as I write them here, and copy them so you have it afterwards. So you can check them up as well, right? So those are bonuses that, like I said, they are from replica programs that are not listed in YouTube. So, this is first one, second one. Just copy his links and after the presentation, you can check them up. Bonus number 3. For you guys who want to have a personalized plan to actually solve this issue once and for all, you can schedule a call with me to check out my replica program. Here's a link for it as well, right? So that should be helpful because, like I said, you need to have a plan and strategy to actually be able to solve this problem and make sure that you don't get it again. Right? Okay, so I will start with questions from the. Let's say I will do like 15 minutes of questions before we get to this. Regarding question about WhatsApp number, no, I don't have WhatsApp numbers that I share unfortunately. So if you have questions, just ask me either here or below my videos. Question about protein powder, it can cause problems. Yes, protein powder is problematic. Like first of all, powders or all types of powders that are concentrated, they are not good for digestion. The scalp doesn't like them, the skin doesn't like them. Another thing is basically that the protein powders contain branched amino acids or added branching amino acids additionally to the ones that are naturally in the protein, and they can cause issues, right? They can basically spike your DHT levels. So you need to be careful with protein powders. Right? If you do use protein powder, make sure that it has a low anabolic profile, right? Because I would say the best way to get protein is by diet, right? Make sure that you do have diet that is rich in protein, and in that case you won't have those issues. But if you do prepare protein powder, then basically get one that has a low anabolic values. Question about how long it takes for finasteride to basically kick in regarding hair loss. Like it can take everything from 2, 3 weeks to a month, one month and a half, like 6 weeks. It basically depends on each one of us, and if there is some other issues that needs to be addressed and solved as well, right? So, but if you, let's say, if you don't have any other issues, that your only issue is DHT, then it will take around, if your hair loss is not too advanced, around 2-3 weeks before you start to notice that there is less shedding. If your hair loss has been going on for some time, so it can possibly take up to 6 weeks before you start to notice that the shedding is decreasing. So. Hey Alex, does being fat increase hair loss? Too much fat not good for hair? Yes, again, I was overweight myself in the past, right? And my hair also are not looking good at that time, right? So make sure that basically that you want to kind of optimize everything, right? You don't want to have any issues, additional issues going on, because they will affect your results. They will affect your hair. So basically make sure that you are healthy, that you have a healthy diet, and you don't have unnecessary body fat that you are carrying around, right? Because even if you are having it, it also can affect, let's say, effectiveness of treatment as well, right? And I remember myself, for example, when I was fat, I had quite a lot of body weight. I would also have issues. My hair were not looking as good, and I was also having different issues with my scalp at that time as well, right? So when I basically did go down the weight, my scalp inflammation also decreased a bit by itself, right? So definitely do something about weight and make sure that you are in better shape. Seeing 30 to 40 hairs a day, is it normal? Like again, it depends on what times and how do you actually notice. For example, what you need to do is you need to kind of make a reference. Let's say, for example, you count your hairs after the shower. Let's say you just kind of check how many hairs fall out of the shower and count them each day. That could be one reference. Don't count the hairs during all the day, because it's hard ratio to measure, right? Just have a reference point at one time of the day that you actually check out if you like how many hairs are losing. But again, let's say if you are on treatment and you don't have any issues, then basically you should not be too much worried about it either, right? Because it's easy that it can become a mind prison and you think about it too much, and it will basically affect your everyday as well, right? And you won't, even if the hair regrow treatment is working, you still will be concerned about your daily hair loss. So don't focus too much on it. Right. Taking vitamin D and zinc is good too. Yes, again, but regarding zinc, for example, you need to be sure that you're not messing up your mineral values, right? Because let's say you take zinc, maybe because of it, you can start to become more deficient in other minerals, right? So always make sure that you actually are addressing all the minerals, not just zinc. Like you have minerals like copper is important for here, iron is important for here, right? So not just zinc, right? So you need to kind of have optimize all of them to make sure that none of them are kind of causing additional problems. Question about, have you noticed your hair become darker in Minoxidil? With Minoxidil? Yes, my hair did become darker when I stopped using Minoxidil. Like definitely. Like also finasteride did make my hair darker, but Minoxidil was definitely a game changer. So. All right. Let's see. Next question is about 20 years old and using finasteride. I don't have information. Also, does my hair progression? Yes, if you don't have any other issues that are causing your hair loss, then you should see basically less shedding and see some progression regarding hair thickness after, let's say, 3-4 months of taking finasteride, And next question about Hairline. About make sure that you do block DHT, because when I was having only for the issues, I was not blocking DHT. Another thing is make sure that that you check up your diet, right? You cannot have any things in this diet that could cause additional sebum, additional illness, and also bad lifestyle habits, right? For example, like smoking can also affect the sebaceous glands and cause additional issues. So you need to be sure that those things are addressed. All right. Let's see. Question about is my results only with finasteride? No, I use also minoxidil, and that's my hair loss from all the angles. Like again, check out full live stream after I have posted it. How often do you use venom roller? I use it daily when I was growing back my hair. Do you think azelaic acid compound is valuable option to topical finasteride? Again, it depends on how aggressive is your hair loss and how long it has been going on, right? You need to kind of look in from those perspectives. If the hair loss has been going on for a short time, then possibly trying out natural treatment, natural components can be a good option and it can actually work. But if the hair loss has been very advanced and you actually have a lot of DHT buildup around your hair follicles, then possibly stronger things like topical fin or topical finasteride can be better option. Right? It kind of depends on the context. Here, follicle pain when I touch on the crown, what should be reason? Like again, your scalp is not healthy, so there is something wrong. It could be a possible inflammation there, because it should not be having a pain on hair follicles if you touch those.